Welcome to Mama's Ashram, where wisdom flows, bridging east and west, the spirit grows. Voices of the ancients, stories to share. In the dance of thoughts, we find our prayer.
Welcome to Mama's Ashram, where wisdom flows, bridging east and west, the spirit grows. Today, Malte has a special presentation on Gnosis. And this is a masterclass on Gnosis because it took a lot of time to prepare for sure. And it has a lot of slides. And it'll take a lot of time to cover all of it. And I'm really excited, Malte. I know when you research, it is a lot of effort and a lot of time. So I know it's going to be really worth the time. So let's do it.
Absolutely. Namaste, amigos. Get excited for what's about to come. For Gnosis. What is it? So this video is to explore the origins of the world, of the word Gnosis, not of the world. And what it really meant for the ancients. Commonly, of course, we think about knowledge, that it just means knowledge as in a modern sense. But I hope
So like Vedas in Sanskrit, Vedas and Gnosis. Knowledge.
Yeah.
Veda also means knowledge.
Yeah. But there's also an Indian or a Sanskrit word, which is more connected to Gnosis, but we will see that in a few seconds. But yeah, I hope with this presentation, everyone gets well informed about what Gnosis is and can make up their mind for a better understanding of the word.
Let's do it. Gnosis.
So this is a little overview to have some plan to what we are going through. For starters, with the word, the etymology of the word, and how and where it's used, who is using it, and in what context. Then we look at the Gnoseology. Which is like one of the most ancient philosophies described by Socrates and Plato. Not in this form we have it today, but it's starting to lead in this direction. Then we explore Gnosticism, what scholars nowadays figured out about it, what we nowadays call Gnosticism, even though it is a bit like Buddhism or paganism. It is too broad of a term to really, to what scholars think today is Gnosticism. Yeah, it is much more. It is just what we put a label on and we call this Gnosticism, but there are different, various thousands of different variations. So it's just like a little thing we might see in common in lots of Gnostic schools, but not in all. And at least then at the end we go to just a overview, a worldview of an agnostic and a Gnostic view. Not like it says here verses, but I don't think you got to decide either that or that. There are things, you might agree with the agnostic view, you might agree with the Gnostic view in other points. It's just to show you what the word is used for and what comes out of it.
Right. So Gnosticism is the most wide spectrum for this of a term.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely, it's almost like paganism. So, also like we will see in the presentation, Christianity is heavily influenced by Gnosticism. So also there is some in that.
All right.
Okay, so then let's start with the word Gnosis. The etymology comes from the root Proto-Indo-European root word, meaning root word gno, meaning to know. And here we see correlations in other languages, how this influenced a broad variety of languages. So this is also an indicator of how old this word must be. If it comes up in this Proto-Indo-European language, it is as we see now in Russian, it's very similar in Old Irish, also in the Sanskrit Inya, where we have the Inanna yoga from.
Yeah. in the modern day Sanskrit we call it gya, but
Yeah.
the ancient pronunciation is supposed to be nya, which
Mm.
is very similar to nyo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it varies quite a bit also in the German. Yeah. Now we would say kennen. It has a little bit of it. It has the KN thing going on, but not, yeah. You can't really recognize at the first view, but it is connected.
Interesting, man.
Yeah. And in these senses, it all means to know. But then we have many other words who are built with this root, as we can see here.
All right.
All right, so these are connections.
Cognition.
Yeah, where all this gno root
Diagnosis. Yeah.
diagnosis. There's Platon inside the gnosis. It could be also what there's another one. Diagnosis
Nobility.
and no, I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Nobility. So more like nobility.
Yeah. This is also very interesting. Nobility.
Yeah.
That will comes again with the Aryan connection, because the Aryans means the noble ones. Yeah, cognition, recognize, and also to narrate, to tell a story. Yeah.
The Aryans, did you say, is connected to Gnosis? The
Yeah.
Aryans.
Because the Aryans means the noble ones, and we have the word nobility connected with Gnosis.
Yeah, the word Arya also in Sanskrit is noble.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, there we have another connection. We don't really know how old this word is. And,
okay.
Yeah. But maybe with this presentation you get a better understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, also physiognomy and of course ignorance or ignorant. It's like the opposite of gnosis, of no. And there we have
ignorant is somebody ignorant is somebody who's devoid of knowledge. So what's the word for somebody who has knowledge? I mean, is it a word for that's born that has the root word neo, which means the knower. I mean something that is the opposite of ignorant with the root neo, GNO.
Yeah, as you said, in the English it would be the knower.
Ah, okay. and the root is gnosis.
Yeah, to know is acknowledge. Know, it is all the root word gnosis.
Is the root? Oh, okay. So the neo is also the root for no. KNOW.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right. So yeah, we see already here that it comes in very different forms, and it has lots of different meanings. Sometimes it's similar. You see a little connection like acknowledgement, ignorant, cognition, recognize. But then we have diagnosis or physiognomy, where these two maybe are linked, but are opposite to the intellect part, to the knowing and cognition part. Yeah, it has more to do with the body. And then we have nobility and narrate, who are also, very distant from what we would consider gnosis if we would know that.
Okay.
And with this, we go to where and how it's used in history. Of course, as we talked about many, many times, the Temple of Avalon, Delphi.
It's our favorite.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was circa 600 BC was when they discovered it, or they dated it. But also we see in Homer or Herodotus that these kind of saying, Gnosti Seauton, which we would translate as realized thyself, comes way earlier in a verbal form, so that it was a saying way before it was carved into stone. And yeah, for the second example, we have the Villa of Papyri in Herculaneum, Italy. It is one of the places, maybe you heard of the Pompeii story.
Yeah, Pompeii.
Yeah, so it was put down to ashes from a volcano, and lots of things were preserved in stone. And then we have this is Herculaneum is close to Pompeii, and the same thing happened. and we just rediscovered some ancient scrolls from there who mentioned Gnosis lots of times, but in a very different way, because it was most of the scrolls we discovered there was Epicurean. This is a philosophy made up by a guy called similar Epicuron or something, which is a bit opposite to the Stoicism philosophy, which
Okay.
both talk about gnosis, but in Epicureanism we have it more as a rational and sensual way to perceive knowledge. From this Epicurean philosophy comes also the word epistemology, which we'll talk later.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So the Epicureans, they would see gnosis more as a tool to get rid of fear in the world. They were very materialistic philosophy, not a lot about gods or spirits, and in their philosophy also the soul would die when the body dies. So a very materialistic view on life.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we have the Manichaean text found to China, 300 AD, 900 to 900 AD. There are many texts found there in Turpan, in China, including these Manichaean. There was Buddhist text, Taoist text, lots of different texts. But which is interesting about the Manichaeans is it was a really short period when it was popular, like 50 years maybe, but it was very influential. The guy, Mani, he lived like 200 AD to 270 AD or something. And he would see himself as a follow-up of Buddha and Jesus and Zoroaster. So he would be
As a
like
what?
as a precursor, no, how do you say, as a follower of enlightened
Follow.
beings like Buddha, Zoroaster, and Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Disciple.
Yeah, no, he would be like the next enlightened person.
So okay.
So he would be like the
So
next savior, he considered himself.
descendant. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Not descendant. Okay, yeah, okay. That was understood.
And the Manichaeans, it was a really syncretistic religion. Sometimes very strict, but it has lots of influence, as he said already, as he perceived himself as well as a follower from Zoroaster, Buddha, and Jesus. So he would also include or synthesize and combine these belief systems. And it all comes down as well to what the Gnostic or the Gnosticism schools have in common, that the liberation comes through Gnosis. Okay.
Liberation through Gnosis.
Yeah.
And he was the only one who talked about this, or the other two schools as well?
No. Almost all the schools about what we have in the broad term of Gnosticism talk about Gnosis as a tool of liberation.
Okay.
But yeah, they did it as well. And he sees like these figures of Buddha, Jesus, or Zoroaster as revealers of Gnosis, and himself, of course, through to let the humanity learn more about this secret Gnosis to be liberated. Also, they focus a lot of this. Well, we come to this later as well about this dualism, dark versus light, good versus evil stuff.
So till now, this has been very similar or synonymous to Gyan. Right. I mean, for even for Hindu avatars or manifestations of God, they're called the revealers of Gyan. So it's like the revealers of Gnosis here also. Yeah. So it fits perfectly the meaning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have many connections as we will explore also further with the tantric movements, as we've already talked about in previous episodes as well.
That's exciting. Let's go.
Okay. So yeah, that is where and how Gnosis was used. And with this, we come to the next slide. Gnoseology. Also called epistemology.
All right.
There, what we talked before, the Epicureans, the materialistic philosophy, focus more on happiness in this life than to focus in any afterlife or spiritual reality. And this is also called the theory of knowledge.
So the Epistians who studied Gnoseology, Gnosis, developed the Epistians who studied Gnosis developed this branch called Gnoseology that later became epistemology. Oh,
Yes.
it was first epistemology.
It was also before. Yeah, it's not just this Epicureans. I don't know, a
Epicureans,
guy
yeah,
was
sorry.
called Epicurus or something. He
Mhm.
he quoted the term episteme, which later we become to epistemology, from episteme and logos. Yeah, from both
Logos,
Greek
yeah, okay.
words. Yeah.
Greek, yeah.
And but he would, as in philosophy, so often, so common, you just, you slowly create this kind of philosophies. So Socrates started with something, then Plato took from him and further developed it, and then Aristotle, and then Epistemius. I don't know what his name was. Yeah.
Mhm.
So he influenced this very big, what we call nowadays epistemology, or the theory of knowledge. Socrates focused in this development on the questioning, the belief, focus on questioning beliefs and to reveal ignorance. So with this, it started, and we have already ignorance. The word is connected to gnosis. So we have already it's starting with Socrates, with dividing, like we also talked about in the Samkhya episode presentation from you. Yeah, with ignorance. So you have to reveal these ignorance to get rid of it.
Reveal ignorance.
Like also we see in some yogi traditions, I think I heard Sadhguru also say this once, that they focus on ignorance rather than knowledge to further go down this path and see what they don't know, to then you can further explore.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and then Plato further developed the defining knowledge as justified truth, true belief, and introduced the idea that true knowledge exists in the realm of forms, where we see an influence from Pythagoreans already. It talks about numbers and forms, and there's the true knowledge to be found. And then Aristotle developed empirical epistemology already, arguing that knowledge comes from experience and logic. And then, of course, also this, what we know today as I think, therefore I am, Descartes, cognito ergo sum, is already also part of epistemology or gnoseology. Yeah. And it explores the origins, the nature, and the limits of knowledge.
So it dives into the lack of knowledge to reveal new knowledge.
Also, yes. Absolutely. It talks about the origin of that knowledge. So what gives us knowledge? Right?
Right.
And then it talks about the nature of knowledge. So also, what is knowledge? What is it made of? Can it be defined properly? And it also looks at the limits. Where does knowledge end?
Yeah.
What can we know? What can't we know? Both sides of the coin.
All right.
And then they categorize this in these propositional, phenomenological, and practical knowledge. Whoever wants to go down this path, it's endless.
Propositional. Yeah. Sure. Propositional knowledge. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Phenomenological. What does that mean?
Phenomenological knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. As the
Try saying that 5 times fast. Try saying that 5 times fast. Phenomenological knowledge. Phenomenological knowledge.
Phenomenological knowledge. Phenomenological knowledge. Phenomenological knowledge. Damn.
Yeah, what is it?
Look at the examples: emotions, sensations, experience. Right. So this is something very subjective. But
subjective. Okay.
It is like knowing how chocolate taste.
Right. So yeah, okay. So makes sense. So knowledge always comes out of experience, right? And experience is always subjective. What you experience, we can experience the same thing differently.
How does
So
chocolate taste for you? Yeah.
Uh,
And how does it taste for me? So it's different, but there is knowledge there. You have the knowledge. You know how it tastes
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. I remember an example from the Sankhya philosophy that a bouquet of roses is romantic for a young person, and for a gardener, he does not care. So he's indifferent. But for an old person, it brings the message of death. Roses, because you offer roses to a gift, and he's like, shit, I'm gonna be there soon.
Yeah.
So different experiences and different knowledge.
Exactly. No. And then we have the practical knowledge, which is also very different. It's the know-how, the skills, the capabilities, which also come by experience. Yeah. So you got to do things often to get a skill. And then you know how to do these things. And this is also knowledge.
So the knowledge that does not really change. I mean, that is true for everyone. Is the propositional knowledge, facts, fire burns. It's a fact.
Yes.
The second is born out of experiences, and the third is also born out of experiences.
Pretty much, yeah. But also it can be, through reading and then put that into use and do it over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, like a plumber, carpenter, driving.
But it can also be a capability to calculate. Yeah. Very different, very difficult calculations. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Cool.
Right. So this is it for Gnoseology. Now we go into the big one. Gnosticism.
Gnosticism. The bigger umbrella.
All right. So, Gnosticism. Big topic. As I said before, as I said in the beginning, this is just what scholars think and figured out through archaeology and through philology and whatever methods. Yeah. So this is like scholars think today that Gnostic schools would have these principles, but not all of them did. Few, some, maybe most of them. And this is just what most of them share. Not in this exact fashion, maybe. But certainly. So it is dualistic. That's what scholars think. But of course, we have the notions of transcending that and combining, or combining the opposites, as we see in symbols like the Ouroboros and later, which is also used in the Gnostic schools very often. But yeah, this is how it starts. In the scripture, for example, from the Nag Hammadi library, the Pista Sophia. So it starts with a duality: depth and silence. Like the first.
Depth and silence?
Bythos and Sige. Profundity and idea, you could also say.
So they are not necessarily polar. I mean, they're not the opposites of each other.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You can see them as always as the two parents, and then they produce another pair, and so on.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the order that the Bythos and the Siege are the first, and then come Gnus and Aletheia. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Right. So this is called the octet, like from 8.
Octet.
That's because there are 8. And this is like the first.
Oct. Yeah.
Yeah. From octo. Yeah. These are like the first beings that was in the aeon, in the pleroma, what they call it in the Gnostic schools.
The 8 what?
All right, so they what?
The 8 what are they called?
This is called the pleroma.
The Roma.
Yeah, you
Yeah, okay.
could think of it as the ether, or there's the world of the gods. Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're born, the mind, the nous, and aletheia, the truth. And then comes the logos,
Mm-hmm.
and Zoe, the life. And then comes the human.
So okay, so depth. So first there's depth and silence. There was depth and there was silence. And depth and silence gave rise to mind and truth. Mind and truth. Okay. So there wasn't truth even in the beginning. There was just depth and silence.
It was just silence.
That reminds me of the Nasadiya Sukta from the Rig Veda. There's a I don't know how to translate Sukta, like a chanting from the Rig Veda.
Mhm.
It is called Nasadiya Sukta. And what Nasadiya literally means is Nasadiya, Nasad, not truth. So the first line of Nasadiya Sukta is Nasadasi, Na Asadasi. So it means that before the beginning there was neither the truth nor the untruth. This reminds me of that.
Very
That
interesting.
the truth, the truth does not come first in creation.
Yeah.
So what the Dad says is that there was depth and silence, which is interesting.
Very interesting. I find also the last two steps very interesting. The anthropos,
Sacred
the humans,
ground,
and the ecclesia,
Right.
the sacred ground. And ecclesia is also the word where we have the word church from today. In Spanish or Italian,
Ecclesia.
you still see the ecclesia is the church. But for the ancient Greek, it just meant the sacred ground. Yeah. This is where the big decisions were made. So it was more like a political institution than a religion. But we compare this to our modern rights and how you say, bureaucratic institutions. Like when you make a company, there is this fictional person, who has this rights and these rights and whatever. And we can compare this, because when you think about this as in this sense, in a jurisdictive, how you say it, jurisdictive sense, then a state has the same rights or is in the same category than a religion, because human rights are something people agree on. It's not universal, it's a belief system.
Yeah. So
there we have
sense.
this connection as well.
I also see that mind comes before life. Mind comes before life. Which again reminds me of the Sankhya, chart that begins from unmanifest Prakriti, and then cosmic intelligence, which is the Mahat. So I think mind here is that cosmic intelligence, because life is coming after that. Which is the same with the Sankhya.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And in this sense, the nous means, because we have here already the word psyche in Greek for the mind, but literally translated it would be the soul. And this mind, so we have another word for this, is nous here, and it's not called the psyche. So this also indicates that it is something more than just only the psyche.
Like more cosmic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And after the octet, the humans and the sacred ground, what do they do? What do they come up with? What to do? They create the decade, the 10.
Yeah, this is out of human and the sacred ground.
From what?
What does this come out from? The decade?
From the anthropos and the ecclesia.
Yeah, okay, yeah. From the humans and the sacred ground, right?
Right.
Okay.
So there we have kind of similar as the beginning. Depth.
Yeah,
now
depth and deep, yeah.
And we have the mixes, commingling.
What's that?
Yeah, commingling, putting all together, like today we say mixing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mixes.
So this is what I find interesting here is, of course, Gnosis, union. What we have already also displayed in yoga, which means union in the modern term. as we explored in Samkhya, it means something totally different.
Yeah.
Bliss, also, after union comes bliss, is also, I think, correlates with the Eastern view.
Right. Yeah. Union. Yeah.
Yeah, syncresis, blending, happiness, only begotten. This is just how they look at it, this decade. And from this happiness and only begotten, they born another pleroma, the dodecat. 12.
Jeez. Okay. More.
The comforter,
Mm.
8, pistis, what we
Comforter.
see in Pistis Sophia. And we have Sophia, of course, at the end here.
All right.
Hope, love, yeah, material, paternal, aeons. I find aeons very interesting as well, because we use the word still, as an aeon is like a really long period of time. It means
Yeah,
in
everlasting. Yeah.
original sense, it means everlasting.
Mm-hmm.
The eternal moment, you could say as well.
Mm-hmm.
Intelligence, synesis. We talked before a lot about here in
Yeah.
mamasashram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is intelligence? What is not? What is free thought, free thinking?
Yes. What is free will? It comes at the bottom of the dodecat.
Yeah.
Alethos, the will, Sophia, the wisdom.
Thelathos. Oh man, this would take a lot to study and analyze how will comes out of faith, because faith and will are like opposites for me.
Absolutely.
In faith, there is no will. There's only
Very
surrender.
interesting. Very interesting how and why they built this way.
Yeah.
But this is how they describe it, and this is what is common in most of the schools. And what is really common is, of course, that Sophia is the last one of this creation.
Yeah, wisdom. Yeah. Intelligence comes before.
Yes.
Yeah, this makes you think what really is intelligence
and
what really is wisdom.
Absolutely. Sophia, as we know, comes from the word in the word philosophy. Philo is to love, to like.
Yeah, Philo and Sophia.
Sophia is the wisdom. Wisdom of the friends. The lovers of Sophia.
Mm-hmm. What I also understand from this is that intelligence, or was there also knowledge before this? Knowledge. Yeah, it was from the octads, right? Octad.
Yeah, I think there was knowledge.
That's really far back. Okay, let's not go there. That's really far back. I won't be able to correlate everything. Yeah.
Knowledge. No.
Knowledge.
There is no knowledge.
But interesting, because Gnosis is literally knowledge, right? And here there is no knowledge at all. So all of it is knowledge.
All of it is knowledge.
Fuck. Okay. But what I wanted to correlate was that intelligence, if you take everlastingness and sacredness and bliss from intelligence away, if you take away bliss and happiness and sacredness and everlastingness, then it is not wise anymore.
So
makes sense.
this is the connection here, you can always see if you take everlasting from intelligence, it becomes something imbalanced. Yeah. If you take the sacredness out of the bliss and the happiness, imbalanced. If you take the wisdom,
it's not wisdom.
out of the will.
Because in the end, wisdom is supposed to make you a wise person is supposed to bring sacredness and bliss to you, right? I think this is what the Decotat is trying to say here.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and we see this in the myth what the most of the Gnostic schools share is with Sophia, the so-called Sophia Mystos.
Sophia Mythos.
So Sophia, wisdom, she wanted to create something on her own, without a partner, without the will, because she got imbalanced and she went into hybris, to arrogance. Right? So here we see that wisdom is just one side of the coin, and the other side is hybris. If you don't go with the will, if you don't have your opposite together, here we see the dualistic notion of Gnosticism, but also the transcendence of that. Because what we see now is then she created the veil, and this veil casts a shadow, and from the shadow there's a being born. And Sophia in her hybris is the sole creator of this demiurge, which means also the creator. In Greek, it was used very often for just builders, for like craftsmen.
Does that also remind you of Sankhya?
Okay.
I mean, since we were into that already,
Yeah.
I mean, I could find a lot of things similar to Sankhya. I was trying to, because partner, when the word partner comes here, it always reminds me of Purusha and Prakriti. And we're also talking about creation and partner, and maybe
Yeah.
Sophia. The Sophia here is like a female personification, right? We're calling Sophia wisdom female, which is but in Samkhya there is Purusha, that is a male personification of Purusha is pure knowledge, is like complete knowledge, it's pure knowledge.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to find a link between Sophia and Purusha, and then the creator and Prakriti.
Yeah, as we say, yeah, it's just dualistic in the same form. Yeah. I believe also with the Shiva Shakti notion, yeah, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wanting to create without a partner is something that is new for me. Without the partner, that is something I've never read in any of the other philosophies.
Yeah, this is how they explain the fall. This is like a tragic thing that happens. Right, this was not foreseen. And it was not planned. Right. And with this demiurge, which means the creator, comes our world. So he's the creator of the materialistic world and the world we live in.
Demiurge.
The demiurge. Greek, demiurgos, craftsman, builder, creator. Right. In the Pistis Sophia, in the first texts there are in Aramaic, he's called the Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth. Yeah. And he's depicted like this. Yaldabaoth in Aramaic means son of chaos. He's always depicted with a lion head.
I think I'm Malte, please give me 1 second. I think I'm kind of lost. Demiurge is the creator of this world, the human world.
Okay.
Of the human world. And Demiurge gave birth to these 4 more entities. Son of Chaos, time. No. Then
in the Greek,
where do
they
these
call
come
him Demiurgos. In Aramaic scriptures, they call him Yaldabaoth.
So in different cultures, he's called
different names. Right. This is how it is with Abraxas, Aeon, and Iron Man we come to later. It's not specifically in Gnostic texts. Although Abraxas. But yeah.
He's just the counterparts are just found in different cultures.
Right. And this is what I wanted to show with that. Demiurgos, craftsman, builder, creator, which also already reminds us of the Freemasonry school, where of course they called about the great builder. Yeah, it's like the highest deity.
Yeah.
And yeah, as we see in the earliest depictions, he's always depicted as this lion-headed figure, like in the Yaldabaoth picture, with a snake body. It has the sun, the moon on the side. It is in a kind of a fish eye, yeah, which also links to sacred geometry. It is the third thing that comes out of 2 circles. When you combine 2 circles.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You get the fish eye in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, means sons of chaos. And then we have Apraxis, which is also mentioned in Gnostic texts. First termed by Basilides, I think 200 AD. Which is very interesting, very syncretic figure. Also, like in Yaldabaoth, we see a creature with different body and head. Yeah, and we have the lion and the snake. Here we have the snake, the human, and the rooster. This is how Abraxas is depicted. Yeah, he represents the time. For in his name, if you take the geometria from it in Greek, it turns out to be 365 for the days of the year. We have the 3 vocals, AAA, and 4 consonants. So 3 and 4
vowels,
gives,
yeah.
vowels give
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
3 times 4 gives 12 for the 12 months. So
There's 5 vowels.
What?
There are 5 vowels.
1, 2, 3, 4. Abraxas.
No. Here. Okay. Pause.
So yeah. So 3 A's and 4. You say vowels? No, vowels are the A's.
Vowels, yeah. Vowels.
No?
Vowels, yeah.
And then 4 consonants.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 times 4 gives 12 for the month of the year as well. And for this, we represents time.
Mm-hmm.
And the 5 elements with his 3 body parts: snake, the human, the rooster, and then the whip and the shield.
Right.
And then we have Aeon, which we saw before.
Aeon.
Also, the name Aeon, which means everlasting. So
Right.
it always represents eternity.
Eternity. Yeah.
It has mostly depicted, this is a Mithraic symbol that comes out of Mithraism.
Mithras, yeah.
The lion's head, the human body, the snake coiling around it 7 times.
7 times. Okay.
When it has the 4 wings for the 4 cardinal directions, and it's mostly depicted with a zodiac around his head. But it also stands for
7
time.
times. Snake,
Yeah.
7 times.
Snake
And
7 times.
reminds you of something?
Maybe. Then I
seven-
don't know anything
seven-
about Kundalini.
7 chakras and yeah. 7 chakras and Kundalini snake.
Yeah. So we see always in these depictions in the Gnostic schools that it's very syncretistic. It tries to combine all these things, into one symbol, into the same concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And we always see what I think, as well as say it's dualistic, but I think we always see the transcendence of dualism here, because this is one being who has combined the opposites, united the opposites, right? And became one. Okay. So what's also interesting in Aeon is, of course, the staff he's holding, which is very interesting because it is just exactly the angle, and it is in various depictions like that. It's always the angle of the precession of the equinox of the Earth, like 23.5 degrees roundabout.
Oh.
Which shows us the wobble of the Earth,
What's that on his in his other hand? Looks like a phone,
key.
and he's taking a mirror selfie.
He's making a selfie. I don't know.
Yeah. A key to what?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe some time we will explore that in Mithraism.
Yeah. There's a key. There's keys. There's a lot of keys in the Greek philosophy as well, right? Key.
Yeah. I don't know. Could be.
Yeah.
Okay. And with this, we go to the Lion Man. We had already one time in our presentation about Plato and the Yugas. Yeah. So this is a really ancient, one of the first depictions of art in human history as we know about today. 40,000 years old. Found here in Germany.
40,000.
And it depicts a man with a lion head. And we can see here already also that it is a combination of the human body, and the god or the spirit, because of as we imagined today, in these times, humans would believe or worship nature deities. And also interesting because were there really lions here in Germany 40,000 years ago? Oh. Okay.
This reminds me of the Lion Man reminds me of Nrsimha, who is a god, who is a manifestation of Vishnu, an avatar of Vishnu. He's half lion, half man. So he has a head of a lion and the body of a man. And Nrsimha literally means lion man. Man lion. Nar means man. And Simha is lion. Man lion. Nrsimha.
Okay. Wow.
He's a god. He's a manifestation of Vishnu again. One of the 10 manifestations.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, this is I wanted to show just because so we see that there could be a very much older history behind all these ideas,
Yeah.
than we think.
Mhm.
And also that it is
And
depicted in so
Nrsimha,
many
yeah.
different cultures.
Nrsimha is also from the Satyug. So
Let's see.
three yugas before.
Wow.
It's just like, fuck. It's just like
This
the
is
beginning of time.
yeah, super long time. Okay. Good. So that was that for Gnosticism, I think. No. I don't know. We have another one.
Mm.
This is just a short topic about two major big schools we really explored, we really know about today. And this is Valentinianism and the Sethians. Around about the same time they existed.
Right.
And yeah, we see
Three
a bit
thinkers.
of correlation, a bit of very different views. Like the Valentinianism, there was the guy Valentinius. He was almost elected as Pope. Was very, very close back in the days. So he almost became the Pope of Rome. And with that, we wouldn't all be Christians today. We would all be Gnostics, probably. And yeah, that was really a free.
That
Yeah.
wouldn't have been so bad.
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah. Well, we never know. We never know. But yeah, they were really free thinking. Yeah, they were only devoted to Gnosis. Very syncretic, as we explored before. Yeah, like different gods, same concepts, and consciously syncretic. So they knew about that Jesus would be just a symbol for the sun or for an enlightened being, and then we combine it with like gods of Egypt, like Ra, the sun god or something, and we just say, okay, this is the same. Yeah. And the Valentinius was later in history, much later condemned to be the church by the church as an arch heretic, even though he was so close to becoming the leader of the church.
And you never know.
Yeah, history takes a spin. Yeah, and then we have the Scythians around the same time, but very, very different. The Valentinians, very strict, very dogmatic. They worshipped, as you see here, Seth, the third son of Adam. And then we can also see that they're influenced by the Judean Christian culture a lot. The Valentinians, they talk about the Jesus as well, but not, as I said, more as a symbol than or a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here they very specifically worship Seth, and they condemn the Jewish because they equated the demiurge, the creator, as evil, as impure, and associated him with Yahweh, which is the Jewish god, Yotevave.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Demiurge is the creator, and which is supposed to be the fall of humanity.
Right. Which is unperfectly created only by Sophia without her partner, and he has created our world, but it's imperfect. Yeah. So we gotta escape it.
Yeah. Why do they equate it with the Yahweh?
That's a good question. Maybe because Yahweh is also called the creator. And then we have to dive deeper into Judaism a bit.
Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah. Okay. And this guy Seth, is he a major character in the Bible?
Yeah, I think in the Torah you can read about him. I think in the Christian Bible he's not part of it. Maybe he is. Not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he is because the Jewish Bible is just the 5 books of Torah, and this is also the 5 books of Moses, and this is also in Christianity. So probably they talk about him as well. Yeah, and Nora, the wife of Noah, Norea, which is associated with the moon heavily. Yeah, makes also a significant role in their beliefs. This I wanted to show just because So you get a quick or a small overview of how they went in various, very opposite directions also, almost. So we can't really put a finger to Gnosticism nowadays. It's too broad of a term.
Okay.
And with that, we come also to the end of Gnosticism. We have not just another overview, a kind of conclusion, which most Gnostic schools would believe in. The dualistic worldview, yeah, only opposites can create efficient. We see also in the Sophia myth, and that it's most of the time centered on that. And in the Sophia myth, we see this, view of wisdom and hubris is like the same coin, two sides of the coin. So we see already this transcending motion of dualism. We have the fall of the divine and the reversal of Gnosis. This is what they all have in common. And we see this even in stories from Hellenism, for example, with Dionysus, when he was born, he was slain, he was killed, and then Zeus rebirthes him from his thigh or something, but his body, he was eaten by the Titans, and then his body had to be made from the Titans again, but with this godly spark, because he's a god. So we have this like divine spark in us, but our flesh is made of the Titans, kind of thing.
Mm.
Right. And
The fall of the
very-
divine and reversal through Gnosis again reminds me a lot of Samkhya.
No. Absolutely, yeah. I think so too. Or Tantra, yeah. The various different practices. Liberation. Consciously syncretic. This is, I think, a very important thing. What lots of schools have in common, but also as we see the Sethians, they don't really do that. And yeah, but Valentinianism, they talked about Zoroastrianism, Orphism, Plato, Pythagoras. They knew that they were influenced by that, and would recognize that. For lots of people, Gnosticism was just conceptual hate, the categories. Yeah. It is like kind of the start of this Gnoseology or epistemology. It is the start of science, and it would try to help to further Gnosis with categories and conceptual hate. Then, of course, Gnosis as the path and tool leading to liberation. And with that, we're going into the last part and look at the agnostic and the Gnostic view from a modern lens.
Gnostic, when you go through these dating apps, they give you this choice of selecting your religion or your belief, and there's one option that is Gnostic. I don't use any. I just know because I might have it at some point of time. Can't read one or two. And a lot of people put Gnostic on their profile. I have a Gnostic point of view. And now, after going through all of that, I wonder if the person is secretly just anti-Semitic. I mean, a Jew hater.
Yeah.
Because it's hiding it under Gnostic point of view. Yeah.
Could be. Crazy that there is this option already. But cool.
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at the agnostic view. Maybe we can switch a bit and see what they connect, what they did, what the Gnostic and the agnostic worldview connects, and what they divides them. So the agnostics say truth about the divine, the ultimate reality, is unknowable. Cannot know. Never. The Gnostics would say truth about the absolute can be realized. The agnostics say, or does not deny the possibility of a higher reality, but remains unconvinced. Okay, is this a more open-minded? Gnostic would say higher realities can be experienced. So no need for denial because they're already experienced. They don't need to be convinced, because through experience, we're already there. We're already there. Agnostic would say the material world is real, but its ultimate nature is uncertain.
Uncertain. Okay.
Gnostics would say everything is interrelated and mutually interdependent. So if you want to know one thing, you got to know everything.
But then to know, I mean, to truly know something would have a different meaning, right?
Yeah, must have. Yeah, must have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. The agnostics would say may engage in spirituality, but without rigid beliefs.
Right.
Right. So we'll try it. Yeah, see what's happening. So we see already this open-mindedness again. Let's try. Gnostic would say, or would say through, would say salvation through inner revelation, no faith or obedience. So to look inside. No. But they would really be more immersed in spiritual practices. Yeah. Agnostics would say freedom comes through knowledge, reason, and self-awareness. Oh, what's the wrong direction? Gnostics would say Gnosis, realization, is the key to liberation.
Right, which is what the yogic point of view is, right? It calls all knowledge is vritti. All knowledge is basically just uh, what do you call it? Something that is in the way.
Obstacle.
Obstacle. All knowledge is an obstacle to liberation. And realization is not the same as
That's knowledge.
experiencing, and the definition of experience is knowledge. And realization is much more than experience, which is why we say that Purusha cannot be experienced, or God cannot be experienced. You can only become that or realize that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here we see, this broad of a term of Gnosis, realization. That's the key. Yeah. Then agnostics would say reality might be more complex than binary opposites. Gnostic would say dualistic, but recognizes balance as a third force.
Right.
So it is,
As a
in
third
that
force.
sense, huh?
As a third force.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that means. Dualistic, but recognizes balance as a third force.
So it is not purely dualistic, I would say. It is dualistic. Yes, this is how the world is. But there's always a third force coming out of this dualistic, as we see in the Sophia mythos. The hybris, and the wisdom.
Okay.
Agnostic would say consciousness exists, but in its origins and natures are unknown. Agnostic would say a divine spark exists within everything. They would compare this to consciousness. Everything has this, at least a small bit of consciousness. And last but not least, we have the agnostics. They often would be often neutral in religious debates and say, we just don't know.
Okay.
And the Gnostics have no single dogma.
So agnosticism is basically just being lazy.
Open-minded and lazy, yeah. Maybe you can compare. Yeah. Absolutely. A bit like to the stoicistic philosophy as well. So yeah. Well, whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to explore.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And with that, I hope everybody understands Gnosis better, understands the word, the meaning, and how to use it, how the ancient would use it,
Yeah.
and what it can teach us.
Right. Gnostic Malte. So you're not a lazy motherfucker.
No. On the path of realization.
Man, we're proud of you. But with no offense to any agnostic
No, of course not.
philosophers here.
No.
Any agnostic viewers.
Shouldn't,
You're on your path, man.
Yeah,
For
we
what?
should separate them. And I think agnostic view is totally valid, and
Yeah,
I
totally.
cannot seem to be anything out of that. And as we know, the Buddha would be associated agnostic, and I have friends who would say this is about themselves, and I totally respect.
Right.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
And
And
we
the
wouldn't
sukta
be
I was
here
talking about
without
earlier.
agnostics, yeah. We have all this wonderful technology, I think, has a big part of an agnostic root.
Interesting. Yeah. And agnosticism. Yeah. And the Nasadiya Sukta that I was talking about earlier, that before that, like when we were talking about truth, when we were talking about the 8 octadad, we were talking about that. I mentioned the Nasadiya Sukta from the Rigveda. And it says before the beginning, there was no truth, no untruth, no water, no elements, nothing, no creator, no gods, because the gods are the part of the creation, right? And before the creation, what was, nobody knows. And the last line says that the one who was before creation, before existence, does he even know that he existed, or does he know not? That is how the sukta ends. So it does not come to a conclusion. Rather, it ends with a question: that does even the supreme oneness, or the Brahman, as we call it now, know that it existed before anything existed? So I think that is also an agnostic view.
Sure.
And
it's beautiful. Leave it open. This is maybe a bit like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was the presentation by Gnostic Malte. Wonderful research, man. As always, what a beautifully researched topic. And I hope we'll have more from you in the future, my man. Until then, namaste.
Namaste, amigos. Gnosis.